And particularly for this piece, it would make it really interesting if you can make the main characters very attractive, and then in terms of how you can connect or attach to the main character, that would make this piece much stronger.
はい、5番のですね、メブリーさん、この作品もですね、非常にカット、ロング、ミドル、アップのバランスも良くですね、この4ページの中で非常に話をよくまとめていきますね。映画のオーディションを受けに来た子が、思わぬ合格の仕方をしてしまうという、そういうオチがついています。
So this piece by memory, it's just like the race piece. It actually starts out really well by showing the setting in a long shot, and then coming closer into the more focused shot into the characters. And then, the setting itself is drawn really nicely throughout the 4 pages of a little boy coming into the audition of to become an actor, and then something that he wasn't really expecting starts to happen.
でこのワンアイディアで、このオーディションを通ってしまうというところが肝なんですけども、その構成はいいんですけども、残念ながらそのアイディア自体がですね、あんまり面白くないっていうのが、困ったところです。
So the very last punch of the series is that he uses a chair to defend himself and actually wind up beating somebody who's much bigger than him. That actually is executed very well on these pages. However, the idea itself needs to be a little bit more entertaining than what it is.
4ページしかないんで、基本的には落ちというか、アイデアは1つしか入れられないと思いますので、その1つのアイデアはきちんと考えていく必要があると思います。
And then because there is only a limited page of 4 pages, you have to think about the conclusion of the piece at first, and then you can only have one focal point on that, and then you can roll out the story out of that. So it's important to focus on one point when you have such a limited restriction.
そうですね、6番のデイビッド君の作品ですけども、これも、今の作品と同じような感じなんですけども。
So the page number 6 by David, it's a little bit similar to Memory's piece, the one before.
ニューヨークのオーディションに行くために旅費を稼ぐという話ですね。
So what he's trying to do is, in order to go to an audition to become an actor in New York City, he works really hard to do a lot of part-time jobs.
旅費を稼ぐためにバイトするだけなのかという感じですね。でこれもちょっとアイデアですね。
But so he seems like he's doing only just part-time job or summertime job, and that's the main focus of the story. And it should expand a little bit further into where he goes actually takes off into the New York.
例えば、バイトをしているうちに、ガールフレンドをつけちゃって、ニューヨークを忘れちゃったみたいな、こういう人がそういう別のやり方とか、もうちょっと考えてほしいですね。
So he should have been thinking about something to spin off this idea. Like, for example, he was working on a part-time job to go to the audition, but a girl of interest shows up and he completely forgets about going to the audition or something like that. It would be a little bit more of an interesting twist at the end.
で今回、見た中でですね、一番良かったと思ったのは、サイレス君の、作品です。
So out of all the pieces that we reviewed this time up to today, I think this piece by Cyrus is one of the strongest pieces that we have seen so far.
13歳のムービースターを目指す少年、ニューヨークの少年というのはですね、なんとスーパーヒーローだ。
So the 13-year-old boy who wants to become a movie star in New York actually happens to be a superhero.
1ページ目でですね、非常に独創的な関わりをして、 スーパーヒーローが登場して、スーパーヒーローって自分言ってませんけども、パッと見でこのデザインで分かる上に、後ろの方でですね、ファクトを通して何者であるかということをはっきり見せる。
So even off the bat on the very first page, he uses a really interesting panel work, and then on the second panel, it's like a really impactful image that makes it obvious to you that the main character is a superhero right off the bat, and that's a really interesting way of showing the character.
で、コマの運び方も大変、よくできて演出を考えています。読者の見やすいコマの運び方を考えています。
And the way he puts the panel works together is it's quite simple and easy to follow even from a reader's eyes, from the perspective.
一番感心したのが、3ページ目の最初のコマなんですけども、
The very thing that I was really impressed about this piece was the very first panel of the third page.
1ページ目の最後のコマで、スーパーヒーローがこれは映画祭だと宣言をする。
So in the second page, at the very last panel, the superhero with a serious face, he's saying that I'm going to become a movie star.
でそこで1回3ページ目の最初のコマにはめるわけですね。で、その後ポンと爆発する。
And then on the next page, on the third page, the first panel, he's just kind of stunned look. It's kind of like this quiet panel, and then it explodes with an expression reacting to what he just said.
4ページという短いページの中でですね、一コマこういうコマをちゃんと入れられるというのは非常に構成力が優れていると思います。
So within such a limited number of pages, to have a kind of a moment like this quiet moment, it's quite a skill of actually planning the plots and how to present these ideas.
で4ページきちんとまとめた上にですね、この2人のですね、この後の活躍をもっと見たいと僕は思ってしまいました。
So after reading the final page, and on the very last panel where they're having high fives, it really made me think that I want to actually read more about the actions of the two superheroes. It really made me interested about the two characters.
漫画でですね、一番大切なものというのはですね、いろいろ考え方があると思うんですけども、僕は、漫画で一番大切なものはキャラクターだと思っています。
So there's tons of aspects that's really important about manga in general, but I believe that one of the most important aspect about manga are the characters.
でこの4ページという限られた中でですね、きちんとキャラクターを見せて、そのキャラクターに興味を持たせたということで、この作品を僕は非常に取り組みします。
So within those limited 4 pages again, Cyrus really showed what kind of person of these characters are, and then which also actually made me really curious to know more, and made me want to know more about these main characters, which was a really interesting high-level skill. Okay. So that was the last of all the critiques pieces that we're going to be presenting. We have the last 5 minutes. Do you think you want to do a little bit of Q&A? Okay. So we took some of the questions from Twitter, and we also have some questions from the audience as well. I'm going to read the one from the audience first. How close to the real life is a manga Bakuman? Is making manga really that hardcore?
この質問よくされるんですけども、本当でもそれもありません。
So a lot of people actually ask me this question. Bakuman is not a fiction nor a non-fiction.
It's up to your imagination.
It's up to your imagination. じゃあもう一ついきます。This is a question from Twitter. What is the most important? Story, character depiction, environment, or emotion convey?
先ほども言いましたけれども、これは人によって考え方違います。答えが一つとは限りませんけれども、僕は、キャラクターだと思います。
I actually mentioned about this during the panel a little earlier, but there's actually, honestly, there's no right or wrong answers to this. It really depends on the person. However, personally, I think the most important aspect is the character. Okay. Let's see. How do you get yourself to work when you have absolutely no drive, but you really, really, really need to get work done?
That's a good question.
すごくやる気がないときに、どうしても仕事をしなきゃいけないときに、どういった工夫でそれを乗り切ってやる気を出せばいいんでしょうか。
そうですね、ドラゴンボールを読んだんじゃないですか。
One more thing. How can I be an assistant of mangaka? I want to be an assistant. How do you how do I get employed? Impossible.
日本の少年ジャンプにはですね、アシスタントを募集されている先生の、求人広告が載ってます。
So in Weekly Shonen Jump, there's actually a section that actually posts the assistance wanted for a certain artist who actually wants an assistant. We post it in the magazine.
ですので、自分のアートワークを、その作家さんのですね、漫画家さんの担当に送って、審査をしてもらって、使用期間を経て採用ということになりますけれども、日本に住んでないと厳しい。
So first you generally send in your work into the editor, and that gets reviewed by the editor, then an artist. You'll have a test trial time, and then after you qualify within that time, you will become an employee to become an assistant of mangaka. However, it's a little bit tricky unless you're in Japan physically. Okay, so that's the end of the Q&A. We're going to try to answer some of these questions. Follow up at our Twitter at Sasaki _ Hisashi or at Shonen Jump. So please keep posted. And thank you very much, you guys, for being such a great audience. Thank you.
Our time is up, so we all have to 23 skidoo out of here. And so do you guys. Just make sure you follow at Sasaki _ Hisashi. Also follow us at ShonenJump.com. It's basically us up here talking to you guys. And a special shout out to Cashmil for providing the music. He's actually one of our Twitter followers.
Everyone subscribe to Shonen Jump!
Be safe out there, alright?
And never give up on the dream of manga. And the dream of manga will never give up.